got to realize that the storm, even though we had heard a lot of talk about the storm being some big mega storm of the century, we kind of discounted it. We've been through Irene, we've been through everything else, and we've been on this beach for over 100 years, so figured it'd be all right. We had more or less decided at that point that if most people were going to stay, we would stay too, because we had stayed with Irene. Then around 6 o'clock, we'd gotten word, or around say 4:30, 5 o'clock, we'd gotten word that most of the Rockaways, which is the Zone A area, even though they'd been ordered to evacuate, didn't evacuate. I think they said on the news about 75% didn't evacuate. And we had also, about that time, we had a call from the FDNY saying that at 6 o'clock they were evacuating all their units from the Rockaways, and that at 7 o'clock they're closing the Marine Parkway Bridge, which is the bridge linking Breezy Point to Brooklyn, and really our only way of getting back and forth. You know, if we had to get out, that would be it. So we had to make a decision whether or not we were going to stay or go. We had about 25 firefighters here, and we all decided to stay. And then pretty much almost as if on cue, at 6 o'clock, that surge that they were talking about hit suddenly. I mean, it went from ankle-deep water, which was, again, okay, it was a hurricane. If that was the worst that was going to happen, we were fine. Within maybe 10 minutes, it went from ankle-deep water to knee-deep water and then to waist-deep water. I said it was a surge. I mean, it came rushing in. It wasn't a gradual build-up. And before we knew it, even though our turkey dinner had just finished cooking and he was putting it on plates, the firehouse was suddenly underwater.
We were down, like Sebastian said, about to eat turkey dinner, and my mom calls me. And she says we need sandbags, there's water coming into the house, because my parents stayed. So I didn't really think anything was wrong, just thought the water was coming up, and I left the firehouse, and I went to my house to sandbag the house. And I'm walking down Oceanside, which is, you know, the avenue that cuts across all the walks, and I could see water funneling down all the walks, just pouring down, like rip currents, waves coming down the block, and that's where it first hit me that this was going to get real bad.
We had to get out of here. We didn't know, because we didn't know how high it was going to go. I mean, they said it went to our waist in about 10 minutes. You know, for all we knew, it was going to go over our heads. So we got everyone from the firehouse, say 25 volunteers, maybe 15 to 20 civilians that we'd gotten at that point. Got everyone together, you know, holding on to each other, and moved out the back of the bay over here around to the clubhouse. And by then, we're talking full hurricane force winds, you know, 50, 60 mile an hour winds. Water is up past our waist. I mean, past the bunker gear to, like, you know, mid-chest level. And I'm tall, I'm 6'3", and it was up to my mid-chest. So for the shorter people, it must have been a lot worse. We held on to each other. The lights had gone out. It was pitch black. And we made it to the clubhouse. And thank God we had had the foresight to set that up ahead of time, because if those doors were locked, I don't know what we would have done. I mean, if we didn't do that one thing, we probably would have had fatalities. We would have had people swept away. We wouldn't have been able to stay here, and we would have had no place else to go.
I come back here, you know, the place that we're eating dinner 10, 15 minutes ago, everyone's now taking, you know, documents, electronics and stuff, throwing them as high as they can. We're gathering equipment we think we're going to need in the clubhouse, supplies, rope, radios, everything. And people are coming in because people are getting scared, and the first point of refuge is to the firehouse. So they're running here, and we're bringing them to the clubhouse. We get everyone into the clubhouse. We come up, we start thinking of what are we going to do if the clubhouse floods. Because at this point, it's around 7 o'clock. The water rose 5-6 feet in a half hour, and high tide's not till 8:40. And high tide is going to be the highest point of the storm surge. There's a stage right there that we got people up onto, because this was around shin to knee deep water when it started flooding in.
Yeah, it was bubbling up through the cracks.
The people that were rescued, we brought in through that window right there, because the water was higher outside than it was in here because of the doors, and we didn't want to open the door and bring in more water. So you could see that screen's taken out. We were pulling people in through the window.
Yeah.
So there's feet of water in here.
Yeah. And then at that point, through that back window right there, we could see the glow from the fire.
Great.
Well, we didn't know how big it was. We just saw the glow, and we kind of assumed that, it looked bigger than a house fire. We thought it was maybe 2-3 houses. We had no idea, because the way the wind was blowing, the smoke was hiding it. You couldn't see the smoke because all of Breezy was black. There was no power. So the darkness of the smoke, blended in with the darkness of Breezy, and it hid most of the fire.
Yeah, and the smoke was blowing directly at us. So.
And at this point, we still didn't know if we were going to make it out alive from the clubhouse. So we weren't even concerned with that yet. We were concerned about surviving and making it out alive here.
So we were all standing at the window, and it was filling up like a fish tank. Like it was just going up and up and up. And I think it finally got to just below where the stage is, and then it finally stopped.
The wind switched from blowing west, it started blowing northwest. So then everything started blowing towards the clubhouse. And, when it got a little bit more shallow, a few of us stood outside, and we were just watching it and starting to realize it's getting bigger and bigger. And now the smoke's filling the clubhouse. There's embers the size of softballs falling down. It was like a bad horror movie. It was raining fire from all the embers were just blowing all the way across Breezy. So at this point we were like, we gotta start doing something. Me and 4 other people went out the front door and tried to go back to the firehouse. The firehouse was still waist deep water. So we got back there. We were getting all our gear on, our SCBAs, getting flashlights, getting everything. And we tested the trucks, and the trucks started up right away. Still, none of us, not even the mechanic that looks at the truck, has any idea how they started and how they're still running.
So they actually said 2 Our Fathers and then a Hail Mary, and the tide started to recede. And they went out and they were able to start the trucks, 2 trucks, that had already been submerged in 5 feet of seawater. And these were the only trucks that were able to get underway. And then they took the people up to the Catholic Church, St. Thomas More, and put them in the church. And then they regrouped and went down and fought the fire when the winds changed. So it was truly almost like the miracle that occurred.
So I went to walk to see what the extent of the fire was. I walked through this house, which is actually roped off now. So I guess we could go around the side. Got here, the first 2 blocks were burnt to the foundations. There was nothing to put out. They were already burnt to the ground. It just looked like a wasteland. That's all it looked like. It's the home that you've grown up in your whole life. It was unrecognizable. I had to look at a street sign because I didn't even know where I was. It was completely unrecognizable. Everything was on fire. What wasn't on fire was hidden with smoke. It looked like the apocalypse. It didn't even seem real. And I think when I first saw it, when I first came over that house, was probably the moment that sticks out more in my mind than anything. So I walked down this way, and
Where's your house?
it's all the way down. You see that row of houses that's still standing?
Yeah.
One behind that. So I walked down this way to try and see, how far down the fire went. and I was walking. There was actually a house that was still standing here that was on fire, and the roof collapsed in, and it shot flames out. And I went to back up and fell into a sinkhole right here. And one of the other guys grabbed me by my Scott pack and pulled me out of the sinkhole. And then there was a wall of smoke right there that you just couldn't get past. So that's when I turned around to go back to the truck to, meet up with the other guys and find out a plan of attack. Because at this point, this is when we realized the extent. This is when we realized what we were really dealing with. That we had 100+ homes, and we have no water. And you just see more trucks coming up, but you're like, how are they going to put it out? There's no water. And the city told us, they're like, Rockaway's on fire also. We don't know how many trucks are going to get here. And a lot of us just kind of took a moment and really thought that everything past here was going to burn. And I'm surprised it didn't burn. And that we had this whole area going. So we brought it through here. This was the farthest house that was on fire on the promenade area. Now at this point, it was probably the third or fourth alarm that the city hit. So they were starting to be able to stop the fire on Oceanside. So we were focusing up here because the city couldn't get up here. This is as far as we could stretch the line because, like I said, we were getting no pressure. If we brought the line any further, there'd be no water coming out of the hose. So this is as far as we could get. We wanted to stop those houses from going because those were the farthest west. So we were putting on water on that, but this house was fully involved. This house was still standing, fully involved in flames. So we had to put this house out before we could get to that, because if the fire jumped to this house, we were trapped.
So we had the wind at our backs, and we had the smoke blowing away from us, the heat was blowing away from us. So what we were able to do was walk literally right into the fire, and we had no heat on us. Like I said, even though this house was fully involved, this house and the house behind it was fully involved, Billy and I remember being right here near this big pole because we were afraid it might come down. And we were standing here, and we could spray water on the whole thing. And there was no... if the wind changed direction, we would have been killed. If the fire somehow got to one of these houses behind us, we would have been in bad shape because there's all debris here. It's hard to get out. But, and there was no option because we saw the hurricane behind us, and the water and the waves and stuff could have overwhelmed us. We couldn't step off of anything because if you see how far down this goes, it was all undermined over here. So if you fell off the side of this, you might wind up in neck deep or higher water. But just because of the circumstances and the way we were able to run the hose right down here, and with what little water pressure we had, just start fighting the fire from the middle. And we could see, by that time, the FDNY had shown up. And we could see across the parking lot. And we saw that because of the wind, you're talking 50-mile-an-hour wind blowing all of this massive heat and smoke at people. We had gusted up to 80. It was blowing in their faces, like they couldn't even get close enough to it. It was just killing them down here. And us, as long as the wind was at our back, we were able to breathe okay. They said the heat was not hot enough. Like, my bunker gear was still wet. We were still cold and suffering from hypothermia, and even though we're standing in the middle of this. And we wound up being able to put out quite a bit of the fire just because we were able to run right up the middle. We had the 4-wheel drive trucks. We were able to get on the promenade, something the FD can't do. And so we attacked it right from the middle.
Right now, I feel like I've walked by this because I've been here every day, that it doesn't faze me as much anymore. And a lot of the guys in the firehouse, you'll see, guys laughing, guys in good spirits, even though their houses are destroyed, they went through this. It's because, in spite of all this, we're all still alive.
We're still responding to calls as best we can. We had 3 yesterday within an hour and a half that we responded to with what we have. And we're just trying to get new stuff and see what we can get work, make what we have work for now. But we need a whole lot
right now we really need help. We have guys that are here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, still trying to protect this community. We're still worrying about, people going to houses and them collapsing. People are starting to turn on their electric when they still have water in the basement. And we're trying to protect people, and we're all volunteers, but right now we don't have the equipment. Everything got destroyed. Our trucks are on the last leg. We had a fire in one of the trucks the other day because the electrical lines are getting corroded. One of our other trucks got stuck in the sand because the four-wheel drive isn't working on it. All of our power tools got wiped out. We're getting donated power tools, but they're not working. People are donating old stuff that we really appreciate it, but it's not working. And we can't help people unless we have the equipment and money to do so. We need to replace basically everything that we've had, new trucks, new tools. We need a new firehouse. Our firehouse is one story, and after that flood came, the first place that people looked to go to was the firehouse for safety.
We didn't leave the night of the storm. We stayed down here to help people, but we need help too. There's not much we could do if our equipment doesn't work. We'll try our best, but honestly, if it's not replaced, people here are in danger. We're still going to jobs every day. We're still volunteering every day, but we rely on donations.
The next hurricane that comes, if there is another one, like what happened before, the FDNY left, the NYPD left, we were all alone. And next hurricane, we're not going to leave. No matter what we went through, what we did, almost getting ourselves killed, if anything like this happens again, we will be here, we will be helping people. But we need the money, we need the equipment to do so.